Fat activist with ridiculous claim. Basically, people hate on weight loss surgery because they want fat people to suffer.
Let's talk about the hierarchy of weight loss, which in the GLP-1 era is something that is so important to speak on. In our culture, weight loss surgery and to a slightly lesser extent, GLP-1s are very culturally looked down upon. Whereas weight loss natural weight loss, right, is very much valorized.
Right out of the gate, you want the viewer to believe this hierarchy exists because society is cruel and obsessed with suffering. Even if we accept your narrative, what you immediately dodge is the simplest explanation. People respect effort. If people admire natural weight loss, they are admiring behavioral change.
And the reason for that is because people view using any kind of medical aid as cheating. Because to them, weight loss is something that should be achieved through hard work and discipline. And they do not believe that there is any hard work and discipline involved in using an outside tool like a surgery or a medication. This whole mentality is just fat phobia. It's just an extension of fat phobia, and it prevents people who have wanted to use tools like weight loss surgery or GLP-1s from being fully accepted into the thin fold after they lose enough weight to appear thin.
You keep using fat phobia all around. But notice how convenient it is that the term never has a stopping point. Respect effort? Fat phobia. Value self-control? Fat phobia. Prefer methods that don't involve lifelong medication or organ alteration? Fat phobia. Also, I think this is manufactured conflict. Natural weight loss versus medical weight loss to benefit this narrative. The real evidence-based medical community doesn't see it this way. The latest guidance, published just this year, states clearly, lifestyle intervention remains the mainstay of the treatment strategy to manage obesity. It is the foundation. Surgical and pharmacological tools are then added for suitable patients when that foundation is insufficient for the level of clinical risk. Also, the reason the stereotypes exist is because, for the overwhelming majority, carrying excessive body fat is a direct outcome of an energy balance that prioritizes consumption over expenditure. You can spend 5 minutes on Google and see the complex interplay of genetics and environment, but the fundamental equation is calories in versus calories out. When your visible state is one of chronic energy surplus, the natural conclusion drawn is one of lacking restraint. That isn't phobia, but observation, confirmed by simple math.
Appear thin. And I think that a lot of what this has to do with is the Protestant work ethic that we are raised with in the United States. It's a very Puritan thing where it's not just that we expect hard work and you're supposed to reap the rewards of your hard work. You're not supposed to use something else that helps you. You're not supposed to have help. You're supposed to do it all on your own. It's individualism. It's bootstraps. It's whatever. And so if somebody doesn't do that, then it's like, well, they took the easy way out. They cheated. They may look thin, but they are not truly internally thin, because what thin means is disciplined. And if they use this, they're not disciplined, so they don't really get accepted into the fold of being thin. Now, what is this mentality rooted in? Well, duh, it's just the same thing as fat phobia, because this is the ideology of fat phobia. It's saying that fat people are undisciplined, are lazy, are blah, 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 and that's why thin people are better. So if you do a weight loss method that isn't seen as being better, then to a lot of people, you do not truly count as thin and do not deserve the social privileges of thinness. Which, by the way, are like being treated with respect and having decent medical care and having clothes that fit you. And the idea that not everybody deserves these things is incredibly insidious, and that's another video. But that's why there's this hierarchy of weight loss. It's just fat phobia. It's just who lost weight according to what fat phobia deems as the proper, correct way, and who lost weight in a way that's not as valorized in our culture, because it exemplifies, at least in our cultural imagination, because hold on a second here, you get weight loss surgery, that's fucking harrowing. If it's about suffering, if it's about discipline, if it's about hard work, I'm sorry, read Remy Bader's article talking about it. Holy shit, it sounds awful.
Surgery and GLP-1 drugs are acts of heroic suffering. This is where your argument quietly eats itself. You claim society thinks these methods lack discipline, then you respond by saying they involve suffering, therefore they must count as discipline. But pain and discipline are not synonyms. Recovery from surgery is not the same as choosing restraint every day in an environment engineered to encourage excess. One is a medical intervention imposed from the outside. The other is internal regulation repeated thousands of times. Surgery bypasses the habit loop rather than retraining it. That is the entire point. Your Remy Bader example is emotional, not analytical. Chemotherapy is intense too. Nobody calls it disciplined character development. When people say surgery is the easy way, what they mean is easier relative to sustained behavioral overhaul, not easier in a sensory sense. Fewer decisions, fewer daily battles, a forced ceiling instead of learned restraint.
And ditto GLP-1s, although maybe to not quite the same extent, because in surgery, obviously, your anatomy is literally being changed around and you're dependent on supplements for the rest of your life to get enough nutrients to live. You are basically being medically starved. And I don't say that to tell you not to get the surgery, make your own decision, whatever. But I'm telling you, like, you're getting 80% of your stomach cut out, girl. You're working hard. You're going through it. And a lot of times when people say this stuff about fat people and they're like, oh, all fat people are lazy, blah, blah, blah. Like, what they want fat people to do in becoming thin is suffer. They think you should have to suffer to become thin because you're such a horrible person, clearly, for being fat, and you deserve to suffer because fat people are horrible. That's like probably, maybe people don't say that out loud, but like that is the logic. And so the idea that someone is suffering less because they got weight loss surgery is actually quite funny to me. I think it's at least equal suffering because the mechanics are the same in that you're losing weight because you're taking in less calories than you're expending. But like, you're doing that after having had a major medical procedure that's going to have lifelong impacts and potentially has really severe complications. And then you have to deal with all the social implications and the stigma.
You imply that if someone doesn't applaud every weight loss method equally, they secretly believe fat people deserve worse medical care, fewer clothes, and less dignity. That's a cheap move. Wanting people to take responsibility for their health does not imply they deserve mistreatment. And the claim that people are medically starved is a gross exaggeration designed to elicit sympathy. The goal is nutrient sufficiency at a lower caloric intake. The core of your victim complex, a ridiculous projection, is that we want fat people to suffer. No one wants anyone to suffer. What people respect is effort and self-control. The suffering you speak of is simply the necessary discomfort of change. Discomfort.
Stigma. So like, weight loss surgery is not the easy way out. GLP-1s are not the easy way out, although if you have an underlying condition, it certainly can make weight loss a lot easier. But like, not only is this idea really mean and cruel and fat phobic, if anyone still cares about that, it's also just wrong. It's plain wrong. So that is why natural weight loss is valorized, and you'll see it everywhere. You'll see it with celebrities. You'll see it with people who deny having surgery, who don't share it for a while, like Remy Bader. You'll see it in comments. People comment. Sometimes on my posts that I'm just talking about being fat or whatever, they'll comment, "I lost 100 pounds naturally," and they have to let you know it was natural, that they're good people because they did it naturally without help. And it's just American culture. Like, that's what it is. It's American culture, and American culture is fat phobia, and it's all entwined. And I probably sound crazy to many of you, but this is unfortunately just facts. Ultimately, it comes down to hierarchy, stereotype, and ego. And looking down on weight loss surgery is exactly the same logic as looking down on the people who are still fat.
Your obsession with thin privilege exposes the deeper issue. You talk about thinness as a social club with secret entry rules, not a physical state correlated with better metabolic markers. Even if we say that people treat thinner individuals differently, part of that comes from unconscious evolutionary biological bias, and part of it may come from associating visible health markers with reliability and self-regulation. And why do you mock people who say, "I lost 50 pounds naturally"? Pause and think why they say it. They're not declaring moral purity. They're signaling that their habits changed and stayed changed. Statistics show long-term weight maintenance is significantly higher when loss is behavior-driven rather than intervention-dependent. When someone emphasizes natural, they are talking about sustainability. And your entire framing treats the body as something that just happens to you. That worldview removes agency, then complains that society responds as if agency matters. When someone trains their body into a healthier state through routine, they demonstrate impulse control and delayed gratification. Those traits are rewarded everywhere: careers, relationships. And the claim that these methods, GLP-1s and surgery, are not the easy way out is almost laughably transparent. While they involve medical complications and side effects, their primary effect is to mechanically or chemically eliminate the struggle of hunger and portion control, which is precisely the hard part of non-medically assisted weight loss. To deny this is to deny the entire pharmacological mechanism of action of drugs like semaglutide, which drastically reduces appetite and cravings. Trying to shout down the logical conclusion that when you take the path of least resistance, the accolades diminish accordingly, is wild. You're mad because people see the difference. But fat acceptance is a movement built on denial, so this makes sense. So no, this isn't a secret hierarchy engineered by fat phobia priests. It's a reflection of how we evaluate effort. Surgery and GLP-1 drugs are tools, sometimes necessary ones, and nobody should be shamed for using them. But pretending they're indistinguishable from behavioral change is wrong. You don't get to redefine discipline.
The cheating part refers to how the tool is doing most the work for you, or forcing you to comply, versus on your own you have to overcome your mind.
Also, some people have conditions that make natural weight loss much more challenging.
Personally, I still struggle with intentional weight loss and its ties to fat phobia. It feels inherently fat phobic to choose to lose weight.